Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bookkeeping Made Simple podcast. My name is Donna. I'm the owner of Bookkeeping Made Simple. And today I want to talk a little bit about just some things that are floating around in my mind. I don't really have a firm agenda on this one, but I did want to get back in the habit of getting these podcasts out every week. Just by way of update, how did that fly get in here? And of course, it's a really high resolution camera anymore, so you can see the fly. Annoying. Um, just by way of update, one of the reasons the biggest reason that I haven't been broadcasting regularly is that we've been having some health problems. My husband he's been in a bad wreck at the end of April, which took up all of my attention. That resulted in quite a bit of drama with his family, sadly, which I won't go into, but it ended some friendships, and it's really a lot of sad decisions were made by them. And then last Monday, he has heart problems, and it got much worse. So I've been dealing with his health problems. And on top of that, my wonderful referral partners have been referring a lot of tax clients to me. I absolutely love that. And I've been, inundated with a lot of work and a lot of stress outside of work, mostly. And that, unfortunately, being stressed outside of work with things like family does affect my work. It affects my ability to manage my time and energy. And that's really what I want to talk about today, I think. I want to talk about time management and energy management, some of the things that I personally do, and I kind of want to get your feedback on it. So I have been increasingly struggling with focus over the years. In other words, as I get older, now, when I was younger, I did struggle with focus when I was younger. I was the kid sitting in grade school looking out the window daydreaming. I was completely bored in school, completely. And I really just wanted to be anywhere but where I was. But, back then we didn't know about ADHD. So as I've gotten older and I've taken on more responsibilities, I am the responsible one in my family. Not to throw my siblings under the bus, because I have the best family in the world, but as the firstborn, I tend to take on a lot more responsibility. And I laugh and say this, our mother has recently gotten very sick. We don't expect her to recover. And so my next sister down, Debbie, has taken on the responsibility of helping to care for mom, mostly because she's the only one in the same city anymore. We're from a small town in Western Kentucky. Well, I guess it's not that small, but it's certainly, that's where our family's from, but my growing up years were in Seattle. So when we moved from Seattle to Paducah, Kentucky, to me, it was a massive downgrade. And I have always liked to live on the outskirts of the city in the suburbs. So moving to the country was really a shock. I went from this enormous middle school where I was really just one in a crowd. I was a little fish in a great big pond, so to speak. And then I went to the school that I graduated from, where we had a graduating class of 124. So, and I was like, there were 124 in, that was like maybe a quarter of my class in Seattle. So, it was really interesting to go from nobody knew who I was to everybody not only knew who I was, they knew my genealogy, they knew my cousins. Half of the people that I went to high school with I found out years later, they were cousins, third cousins, second cousins. I didn't know. I couldn't date anybody in high school. Everybody knew who my grandmothers were. Some of them knew my genealogy, all the way back to the 1700s because we were all related. And so it was kind of disconcerting for a city girl to end up in the country. So, but anyway, like I said, my sister Debbie has been stepping up with mom. But for the most part, I'm still kind of making sure that, even though it's from a distance, trying to make sure that mom's getting the care she needs. I'm trying to support my sister. I'm trying to be there for my other sisters and my brothers. So there's a lot going on in my life right now. However, to be honest, I don't know any other way to be. So I want to talk a bit about time management. And the reason that I want to talk about this is that it's something that I struggle with myself. It's very difficult for me sometimes to be as responsive as I would like to be to my clients and still get the work done that I'm hired to do. Most of what I'm doing right now is tax returns, which I really do enjoy taxation. It's my favorite class in school. It's my final class before my Master's of Accounting. And I'm working on it right now. I absolutely love this subject. I don't like being taxed, but I do like being able to do the research. I like being able to come up with answers. I like to try to help my clients reduce their tax burden as low as possible legally. So that's something that I'm very, very interested in. I also like talking to them about what their proposed transactions may do to their tax bill. And how can they plan ahead to reduce their tax bill in upcoming years? However, that kind of work is very mentally taxing. It is not something I can just whip off the top of my head most of the time. So a lot of the times I will send emails saying, I will get you an explanation for this later, but I wanted to acknowledge that I received your email. Because it's not something I can just dash off. It's something that requires research. A lot of times it's something that requires sitting down and thinking outside of the accountant jargon box, so to speak. I try to be very cognizant of the fact that the language that I speak as an accountant may not be the same language that my clients will understand because they are not swimming in these waters. It's just like when my clients say, most people are kind of scared of the IRS, justifiably. And so I have to kind of point out that I deal with the IRS all the time. I don't mind them. They perform an important function in our society. The government needs money to run. Whether they're being a good steward of our money is an entirely different conversation, but we need to have some tax, and somebody's got to collect that tax and make sure that it's being paid correctly. So, like I said, everything else about tax, that's a political conversation. I don't want to get into politics. But I do just enjoy the mental challenge of trying to bring my client's tax burden as low as possible, doing the research, making sure that I'm doing things correctly on my end. And because of that, there are days that I absolutely can't take appointments. And I will do things like I check my emails once in the morning. In the morning, once I've gone through my emails for the day, I turn my email off. Any notifications for email, I don't even want to see it. I will check it again the next day. And I do tell clients, I don't instantly respond to email. I respond to it within one business day. One, I want to kind of adjust their expectations because there will be days when I am elbows deep in tax returns. And that's what I need to keep my focus on. That's when I don't answer the phone. I have my staff answer the phone. They will reach out to me if it's somebody I really need to talk to. That's when I will be a bit more particular about screening my calls. And unfortunately, we get a lot of hang-up calls, which is really frustrating because that means that I've taken my attention off of the work that I'm doing to deal with someone that's just going to hang on for 11 seconds and hang in. then hang up. It's frustrating. I love talking to people. I don't like talking to silence. But I am searching for ways really to organize my work in a way that, one, I'm the one that's driving it. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's say I have 20 tax returns to do. And I have 1 or 2 clients that are coming back every few minutes with more questions. So my attention, it's very easy for my attention to go to those 1 or 2 clients. And then just kind of stay there. It's very difficult for me personally, for me to be in the middle of a tax return, switch my attention, and then come back to what I was doing. It does take me some time to do that. Studies actually show that it takes an average of 20 minutes to get back to what you were doing if you're interrupted. And it's not just me. So I'm constantly looking for ways to reduce my interruptions so that I can do the deep work of tax returns. And it is deep work. On top of the other things that I'm working on, like I'm working on a course for Amazon sellers on how to run your books in QuickBooks. I'm also working on a speech to give to one of the chambers of commerce, which I've actually got to let them know that I want to do that. They've already asked me. I'm working on quite a number of other projects to grow my business, but right now and I'm trying to hire more people. But right now my focus is on the tax returns that someone else dropped, and I was left with unhappy clients and trying to make sure that they're taken care of. So one of the tools that I use is the Use Motion app. I'm going to put a link to that below. This is the one I've seen all over Facebook, which uses AI to create your schedule for you. Now there's been some things about it that I haven't been thrilled with. One is there are things that I need to put in my calendar that are pretty static. They stay the same. And instead of saying, oh, I'll just do my podcast whenever, it really needs to be on Thursday mornings. Because I want them published on Thursdays. So that needs to be a firm commitment. But on the whole, and there's times when I will look at my to-do list in the morning, I will actually take it out of Motion and write it in my paper planner so that now I have a list of what I had intended to do that day, so that when things shift around, I can remember what it was that I was supposed to work on next. Otherwise, it seems like some of the major things get moved back and moved back and moved back. And instead of having it kind of stay how it was for the day, I'd like to have a record of what it was I was originally going to do so that I can then decide, do I need to work late? Do I need to work weekends? As the business owner, sometimes I have to do that. I don't request this of my staff, but sometimes I do have to do that. So there's a lot to do with that. So I do see some limitations with it, but one of the things I do like is that once I put my tasks in, the problem is I have too many tasks. Once I put my tasks in, I really don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to think, oh, what did I forget to do? Because it's going to pop up on my calendar. Like I said, the problem comes later when I'm looking at my day and maybe I don't get started until 9:30. Sometimes that happens. I don't set an alarm. So sometimes it will happen that sometimes I pop out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm raring to go. And other times I am incredibly groggy at 8 o'clock, which is the latest I can get up and still be on time to work. And sometimes I will get sidetracked first thing in the morning. Mornings are not my friend. And that's one of the things I've learned over the years is that very first thing in the morning, I'm really not with it. That's a good time for me to do my planning. That's a good time for me to review financial news, to see if there's anything I want to talk about on these podcasts. It's a good time for me to do some things that are kind of light work. That is when I check my emails, because that's when my brain is waking up. On the contrary, my husband will pop out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, like he sleeps in a toaster. Like literally, he pops up and he's wide awake and ready to go. And he will turn around and he will start talking to me like I'm awake. It's crazy. But I'm one of those people, I can get up early in the morning, but my brain doesn't wake up until I've had some caffeine, until I've been out in the sunshine, till I've taken a little walk and I've done some routines to wake me up. And if I wake up late, I don't have time for those. Also, being a woman, it takes some time to do this. So, um, so one of the things, like I said, I do is I pick 1 or 2 days a week where I do not have meetings. I take it off of my calendar that I'm available for meetings on those days. Just so that I have a day where I can say, I have no meetings, I have no obligations, I can put my head down, buckle down, and get to work. Otherwise, that time ends up being on the weekends or late at night. And I have my day programmed from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to bed at night. I'm coming to the end of my last degree, so I have this one last class, and then some of those evenings will be actual work. So that's one way. UseMotion uses calendar blocking or time blocking, which means that it blocks out time on your calendar to specifically say, okay, you're going to work on this. You said you put your tasks in, and it will tell you now. And I'd share my calendar with you, but I have client information in there that I don't want anyone to see, names and such. So I may redo this later, but it is an AI based calendar. It will shuffle your tasks around on your calendar to fit specific time slots. It will use up every minute of your day if you're not careful. But if you don't get to a task, it will just reschedule it later, which is kind of nice. It's like I said, for me, it's kind of a mixed blessing, but that may be because I have so much going on. And I have so many distractions. And I don't deal with distractions. I felt really bad about all this, by the way, until I talked to a client yesterday. She is the sweetest thing. She's a nurse practitioner. I think the world of this girl. And we were talking about it, and she says, I get so sidetracked. I forget to do my charting. And I said, oh, good, it's not just me. So we still get everything done. We just struggle with actually managing the time. Because it does, when you have ADHD and you struggle with executive function and you struggle with particularly time blindness, it will seem like, I'm just going to do this one thing for 5 minutes, and 2 hours later, you're going, why am I still doing this thing? It was supposed to take 5 minutes. And you're completely distracted. So I've put systems and processes in place to try to bring my attention back to where it needs to be. And that is where the UseMotion calendar is really, really helpful, because then if I do get sidetracked, one, I know that task is going to get rescheduled for later. And two, I can bring my attention back, look at my calendar and say, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be working on right now. Otherwise, it's very, very easy for me to be so sidetracked, I can't get anything done. Now, the other thing it does is it actually does have a task list inside of it. So I don't have to actually use the calendar. I can just open the list and start going through and saying, these are the most important things that I need to do today. Typically, I can do 3 major tasks, 3 major projects, my big 3 for the day. And I do pull in a lot of information from a lot of other places. So one of my very favorite ones is the Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. I've read the book. I forget the actual name of the calendar. They have a planner, and their planners are only for 3 months at a time. And that may work for some people. I can see it working really well because you're only focused on that quarter. But one of the things I do pull out of it, and I also use the Dream Book from the Dragon Tree, the Dream Book Planner as well. I purchased it as a PDF. I printed out on a sheet of paper that actually fits in my notebook that I carry around all the time. And it will say 3 things that you absolutely have to get done today. So I'll put down my 3 biggest, most important things. So like for the end of the month or until I finish this class, the most important thing I can do is my advanced tax concepts class. It's my final class and I have to get it done before the end of July. And I will actually put the deadlines in. I had a client reach out and say he needed his tax return done by yesterday. So I put him at the top of the list. He had a firm deadline that he needed to meet. And he told me why. So I will use a combination of planners because I want to get my daily big 3. And then there's a lot of little tasks, little bitty things. Did I send that change form to the client that wanted to change their tier of service with us? Did I send a proposal to the client that called in? How long do these take? Maybe 5 minutes. But again, in the interest of trying to get the important things done first, I won't necessarily stop everything to do those, but I will write it down and remind myself, okay, before the end of the day, I have to get this out. So I will have a couple of stops in the day where like lunchtime is a good one. Lunchtime, I will have a stop. I will go through and go, okay, I promised I would get this out. It's a quick email. It is cut and paste. It is, cut and paste. Think about what the client needs. Customize it to them and send it on its way. But again, remember, when you're distracted, if you're working on something, if you're in deep work and you're distracted, it can take 20 minutes to get focused again on what you were doing. And if you have ADHD, it can take longer. So I want to make the maximum use of my time so that I can maximally serve my clients. Which is why I do block out times when I just can't be disturbed. So I use a task list. I also, inside of the UseMotion app, I also use UseMotion's calendar to visualize what I need to do. And I also use that to kind of track my time. Since I'm the owner of the business, my staff has to track their time in our time tracking app. But I, as the owner, sometimes I will get up in the middle of the night and need to get things done, or I will take weekends, or I will decide I don't get paid for my time. I get paid for results. My staff gets paid for their time, so I want them to track it, but I really don't. And so I will sometimes forget to change my time clock. I will put mine just on the administrative thing, and I will just buckle down and get things done. Again, my staff is not allowed to do that. But then I will use the UseMotion app to visually see how long does it take for me to respond to emails first thing in the morning. I've blocked out 30 minutes. Does it take that long or does it take longer? So that's something that I want to know. Does it take me an hour to get through all my emails if I only do it once a day? And if so, why? Is it because I'm giving thoughtful responses to my clients? Is it because I have so much junk that's coming in that I'm having to clean out? If that's the case, I might need to hire a VA to take care of that. I want to understand how long it takes me to do certain things. Now, I learned the importance of this many years ago when I was a young mother. I was actually living in Germany at the time, and I had gotten out of an abusive marriage. I had ended up in another abusive marriage. I didn't realize it yet. And I was trying to manage 3 little kids under the age of 5 and a home. And in Germany, they're very particular about cleanliness. So my mom sent me this book. The girls that wrote it, they called themselves the Sidetrack Sisters, which I can totally relate to. And they talked about their struggles with time management and dealing with the household which a lot of women watching this, some men, but mostly women, are going to really recognize this thing of, oh, I've got to go in and make up the bed, but before I make up the bed, I've got to take the stuff off the bed. Oh, there's a pile of laundry on the bed. Now I've got to fold the laundry, but before I fold the laundry, I have to go find the hangers. Before, oh, I see the hangers, but man, this closet's a mess, so I've got to organize the closet. And it just seems like in order to make the bed, I have to do 25 other things first. You know, guys are going to be, people without ADHD are probably looking at this going, why is it such a process? But this is how my brain works. This is how a lot of people's brains work. And before too long, I'm going, I'm not even going to make up the bed because I have 25 things to do before I can even get to the bed, and I'm going to be sidetracked, and I'm going to end up with a bigger mess and still no made up bed. And this was kind of what my life was like when my kids were little. Really, really common. So one of the things that the Sidetrack sisters did was they timed it. They said, you know what? It takes 7 minutes. They said, take a stopwatch, time it. I found out that it takes me 7 minutes to strip the bed and make it from like bare mattress cover, fitted sheet, top sheet, duvet, pillows. Takes me 7 minutes if I start off with brand new clean sheets fresh from the dryer. Once you realize how much time or how little time it takes to do something, sometimes it takes longer. But knowing that it takes me 7 minutes to make up my bed from a bare mattress means that now I'm not thinking, oh, I gotta go make up the bed and it's gonna take forever. It takes me 5 minutes to sweep my living room. It takes me probably 7 minutes to do all the vacuuming upstairs. It may take me half an hour downstairs because that's all carpet. And then once I start to think about this, I can start doing things like I can program tasks in between my Pomodoro sessions. I use the Pomodoro technique quite a bit. That is where I will set a timer, usually for about 45 minutes, double down, get all of my, start working on my deep work. But after a while, your brain needs a break. So I will take 10 minutes and I'll go load the dishwasher. That's one of the nice things about working from home. I'll get up and go load the dishwasher. I will start a load of laundry. I'll take 10 minutes and do some household tasks. Why? Because one, I work at home and those things have to be done. And two, it gives my brain a break. There's been a lot of times when I've been wrestling mentally with some problem that a client has. And when I step away and think and just don't even think about it for a few minutes, I'll come back and the answer will be right in front of me and I'll be going, why didn't I think of this before? So these breaks that you take during the day are critical, especially if you're doing a lot of mental work. Still important if you're doing a lot of physical work, but if you're doing mental work and you can't come to an answer, stepping away sometimes is the answer. It lets your brain do things in the background that you may not even be aware of, and then when you come back to that task, it's blindingly obvious what you should have done. So I use time blocking. I also do use a task list inside of time blocking. I don't believe in throwing my task list away. I still need to know what I need to do, or what I plan to do. I also take some time to time specific tasks, and I use my Use Motion app you can actually start the task, you can add time to a task, and then when you're done, you mark it as complete, and the actual amount of time that it took is right there on your calendar. And I find that to be actually very valuable information, because now I can see, yeah, this took me 5 minutes and I've been stressing about it for a week. And then know what times of day your energy is up. Like I said, mornings are not good for me. I struggle in the mornings. I am not a morning person. I never have been. I have tried to force myself to become one many times over the years. I have tried to, like put my clocks on East Coast time. Didn't work. The only time I can be on East Coast time is if I'm actually on the East Coast. I have tried I've tried everything to force myself to become a morning person. I can do it in the event that it's something that I really want to do. Okay, so there have been times, there was one time that we were supposed to fly back east, and um, were we going to Memphis? I forget where we were going, but they had just remodeled the Salt Lake City airport. And I knew that they had just remodeled it. I had seen the news reports. It has been under construction for freaking ever. And so I was fully aware of this. And I also knew that we were flying out of the B gates. From TSA to the B gates is over a mile. And so I was trying to get Chris up and saying, I popped out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning because I was afraid of missing the flight. And I went to wake Chris up and said, we got to go. We were going to Louisville for a conference. That's what it was. And I was like, we got to go. And he was like, oh no, it's no big deal. It's like, no, we really have to go. It is a long walk to the B gates. And that's where our flight's taking off from. And he was saying, no, it'll be fine. I've flown out of Salt Lake. And I was like, not since they remodeled it, you have not. We're going to be like the little Mormon pioneers, walking across the plains. That's how long of a walk it is. And he kept saying, no, 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 it's fine. And I was like, no, 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 you have to get up. Well, sure enough, that's the only time that I have almost missed a flight because I was late to the airport. So I was like rushing and telling him, we have to go like right now. He finally got out of bed, got his suitcase packed. We got going. I'm looking at my watch the whole time going, we gotta go, gotta go, we gotta go. And sure enough, I'm the one that gets pulled aside at TSA. I'm the one with the boarding passes, mind you, to do extra testing. And fortunately, they were pretty quick, but I was wearing tennis shoes that day because it is a very long walk and I didn't want to wear heels. And I was just like racing. He got there just in time to keep them from closing the door. And I was just like seconds behind him, but he got there just in time to keep them from shutting the door. And we were like, we're here. And I kind of yelled at him. It's like, if you'd listened to me, we would have been on time. But that was an early morning flight. And when it is an early morning event that I really want to go to, or it's a one-off, and I'm mentally thinking ahead of, I have to get up, then I'm able to get up. But that doesn't mean I'm awake yet. So my energy levels tend to flag in the morning. They also tend to flag about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So my late mornings are good. Right after lunch, energy drops a little bit, then it comes back up. And then usually I have a ton of energy until about 10 o'clock at night. So I am very much a night owl. So I keep that in mind as I'm trying to schedule my day. I don't want anything important happening in the morning. Not until at least 10. I can function then, but it's not pretty. So knowing what your energy levels are like is important. So I don't start important tasks at 9 o'clock in the morning. I start them at 10 or maybe at lunchtime. Maybe it's better for me to, to go through lunch and not eat because that keeps, believe it or not, that keeps my energy levels up. I'll snack at my desk. It's not like I'm going completely without food, just so you guys know, but I will snack at my desk, but I don't really sit down and have a lunch typically. And that is because I need to stay focused. And for some reason, for me, if I stop to eat, I think it's like my body is like, well, we're in digesting mode now. And if I have a full meal, then my mental state kind of drops. But then I'm usually fine until dinner time. And once I eat, once again, my mental energy drops and it takes a little bit for me to come back from it. When you notice that, you start paying attention to that. You start paying attention to, I really do need caffeine first thing in the morning if I'm going to be pleasant. I need to have some sunshine very first thing in the morning so that I can fully wake up, so that I can wake up my brain. Then you can start putting together your morning routines that help you wake up or help you go to bed, depending if you're a morning person, you may not have the problems I have. You may have problems keeping your energy up later in the day. But I do recommend that you kind of keep a journal of I got up at this time, I felt this way, I had to, I felt groggy, so I needed caffeine. I felt I felt really tired, so I went and had some sugar. Um, I went and got a coffee with cream and one of the nice big Dutch Bros ones. And since it had caffeine and fat and sugar, I was able to perk back up. You just want to keep a track of, I had a turkey dinner and then I felt tired of all these things. And then once you get that dialed in, then you can be aware of, okay, do I need to take a break from caffeine for a couple of weeks? Is that going to help my, I went from 2 cups of coffee in the morning to 3. Now, is this because I was extra tired? Or is it because I'm becoming addicted to caffeine? And if I'm becoming addicted to caffeine, do I need to dial it back or take a break so that it will be more useful to me? So my tolerance drops so that less caffeine perks me up. So some of the things that I'm working on, we do have a lot going on. I'm super excited about all of it. And now I'm late for the webinar that I was supposed to go to, but I will talk to you soon. And I am excited to be back on track and ready to go. Love you guys.